There's magic up on the mountain high. Buckle up your seats, you're heading to the sky. It'll blast you up, then blast you down. You'll laugh and scream until you touch the ground. Come on, scream as loud as you can. Everyone loves Marineland. Yeah, yeah. You're gonna love the Sky Screamer. Yeah, yeah. You'll want to ride it over again. Everyone loves Marineland.
There's something weird about seeing a once popular amusement park dismantled piece by piece, but that's exactly what's happening in Niagara Falls, Ontario. Marineland, the marine animal meets thrill rides park that's been a Canadian fixture for over 60 years, has announced it's selling off every one of its major amusement rides. This isn't just a sale, it's the final nail in the coffin for a park that's been slowly collapsing under the weight of its past. Let's talk about Marineland, how it rose, how it fell, and what this means for the future of the park and the fate of its rides. But first, if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and a huge shout out goes out to all of our channel members and coaster producers for helping bring all of this content to you guys, hanging out with us at the parks, everything else. We couldn't do it without you guys. Back to Marineland. Founded in 1961 by John Holer, Marineland of Canada started as a modest marine life park. A few sea lions, a couple of tanks, but it quickly grew. By the 70s and 80s, the park had become a major tourism draw, combining marine shows with large-scale amusement park rides. Attractions like Dragon Mountain, a custom aero-built coaster that went into a man-made mountain, Sky Screamer, one of the world's tallest triple-drop towers, made it stand out in Canada's modest amusement scene. The park's jingle, "Everyone Loves Marineland," became iconic, instantly familiar to anyone who had a Canadian childhood in the 80s, 90s, or early 2000s.
Everyone loves Marineland.
But behind the catchy tune and family-friendly branding, there were problems. Serious ones. Marineland's decline wasn't just due to age or mismanagement. It was due to controversy, and a lot of it.
Marineland, once again at the center of controversy.
Essentially today, we've criminalized much of what has always been Marineland's existence.
Where do Marineland's animals go when they die? A published report says thousands of bodies, from deer to whales, are buried in mass graves here on the park property.
Report from the Canadian Press shows 14 whales and 1 dolphin have died at Marineland over the course of the last 4 years.
Marineland has been found guilty of charges related to its care of 3 black bears.
Niagara Regional Police Service says it is investigating 2 complaints against Marineland over how the facility uses
rights activists are calling on the Ontario government to shut down Marineland.
Growing louder tonight for a Niagara Falls-based theme park to get out of the animal.
Years that animals have dropped like flies at Marineland, and there have been concerns raised about conditions for decades at that aquarium.
The park's treatment of animals were under fire. Accusations of poor water quality, overworked animals, inadequate housing, and negligent medical care were raised as the early 1990s wore on, but they reached a boiling point in the 2010s. In 2012, a former trainer named Phil Demers blew the whistle, alleging systemic animal abuse and launching a public campaign that brought worldwide attention to the park's practices.
That was gut-wrenching. That was a gut-wrenching period, 2012. In the face of again, that management who are, they have a different set of priorities.
This is necessary. No, it's not. Yes, it is.
And then eventually in 2012, when the water went so bad, that's when no one was immune to the effects of the bad water. Seeing her was absolutely destroying me. It's like me showing up to work and smelling that pungence of chlorine, knowing the animals got scorched, and then having to go in and see the effects of it. And then, you know, Smooshy was in the furthest pen, so as I'm walking, I would see a row of animals, and all the animals are writhing on the deck, you know, their furs coming off in patches, in some cases eyes bleeding. Like this was a really dark time. And I would see that row of animals, and I would continue to walk, and I would see the opposing row, and then another row, and then I would walk down, and that's when I would turn the corner and see Smooshy, and always sort of coming around the corner of that dark wall, and then seeing the bars and then finally seeing what condition she was in was like arduous. It was horrible, just that anticipation of walking a corner and expecting what to see and always hoping for the best, of course, but not often getting that result.
His viral post, The Walrus Whisperer documentary, put Marineland under an intense spotlight. Lawsuits began piling up, government investigations were launched, reports emerged of beluga whales with skin lesions, seals and sea lions suffering from eye problems due to dirty water, and whales dying prematurely. Activists regularly protested at the gates, and multiple news outlets published damning exposés. The death of animals became routine news, each one eroding public trust. Then come the changing of the law. In 2019, Canada passed Bill S-203, which banned the captivity and breeding of whales and dolphins, effectively ending Marineland's ability to sustain its marine mammal population. The emotional tipping point came at the end of 2023 with the death of Kiska, the last captive orca in Canada, and one Marineland had kept alone for over a decade.
Tracy, Kiska was well known after making international headlines, known for being the loneliest orca in the world, for spending more than 40 years in captivity, and now she has died.
Across Canada and internationally, we're grief-stricken today over the news of a death in Niagara Falls. They're mourning the loss of the killer whale named Kiska.
Videos of her swimming in circles, rubbing against the tank walls, and floating listlessly had become symbolic of the park's downfall. Her death wasn't just another tragic headline. It was the end of an era. As the animal side of the park deteriorated, the amusement side didn't fare much better. Maintenance became inconsistent. Major rides like Topple Tower, Sky Screamer, and Dragon Mountain began operating less frequently, if at all. Some rides sat inactive for entire seasons. On Reddit and Coaster Force, fans started documenting signs of decay, fading paint, overgrown paths, closed sections, ride parts rusting in plain sight. The once proud hybrid aquarium and theme park was quietly falling apart. Rumors of closure and bankruptcy circulated for years, with multiple reports suggesting the park was being quietly shopped around to investors or buyers. Then, in 2024, ownership changed hands. A Toronto-based investment group operating under the banner of Landmark Niagara purchased the park's assets. While they said little publicly, insiders noted that much of the focus shifted to land development, not ride rehabilitation. On June 14th, 2025, Marineland made it official. They were selling off all major amusement rides. In a press release, the park announced they were evolving toward a more family-friendly, nature-based experience, and that the amusement rides from thrill rides to kiddie attractions no longer fit that mission. Amusement Today published a scoop noting that popular rides like the Sky Screamer, Dragon Mountain, Viking Adventure, and others were now on the market. So what does this mean? It means Marineland is no longer an amusement park in any real sense. The owners have made it clear that they're pivoting to a passive, family-focused nature designation, potentially with walking paths, small animal exhibits, gardens, and interactive educational zones. Some believe they may be prepping the land for eventual redevelopment, hotels, condos, or a full teardown. The property is incredibly valuable, sitting near one of the most heavily trafficked tourist areas in Canada. But one thing is clear. The era of thrill rides and orca shows is over. For many, it's the symbolic end of Marineland as they knew it. Now the big question, where will the rides end up? Some rides, especially flat rides like the Ladybug Coaster, Tivoli, or Wave Swinger, could be purchased by smaller parks or traveling ride companies. But the heavy hitters gets complicated. Sky Screamer, despite being one of the world's tallest drop towers, is now over 20 years old. It could be sold to a park willing to retrofit it, but moving and reassembling it's going to be expensive. Dragon Mountain, the legendary terrain coaster, I think is the hardest to sell. Its layout is deeply embedded into the ground with tunnels, artificial mountains, and custom infrastructure. The ride's iconic. It's extremely unlikely anyone's going to relocate this. This ride is probably doomed. Topple Tower, made by Huss, has a shaky operational history. Many of its models were decommissioned due to reliability issues. Not really a hot item. Best case scenario, a few smaller rides get new homes. The rest, especially the signature attractions, are likely gone forever. Marineland's history is complex. It's not just the park closing. It's a reflection of changing values, what people expect from animal interactions, how amusement parks are maintained, and how public pressure can reshape legacies. For some, it's a welcome end. For others, it's a nostalgic loss. But either way, it's over for Marineland. And the next time you drive past those familiar gates down in Niagara Falls, don't expect to hear roller coasters roaring or dolphins leaping. That era, like the ride themselves, is leaving for good.